Christine Jacobs, for those who do not know me. I think I've talked to most of you, or most of you have been on Represent event or so. And we view tonight to be our kickoff to the 2022 campaign. And we're so lucky to have leadership from the Democratic campaign committees for both chambers in Harrisburg. It's delightful to us that they're willing to talk with us and share their thoughts with us, and hopefully get us all inspired about how much more money we're going to be able to raise. Today, we're going to have with us Representative Joanna McClinton, who's the House Democratic leader, and as part of her responsibilities is the campaign committee. We're a long-term supporter of Joanna's ever since her first campaign in, I think, 2015. She's a good supporter of Represent, and we're happy to have her. Trevor Sutherland joined the HDCC this year from Virginia, and after Virginia's election, I'm sure they were sorry that they gave him up. But he's committed to spending a few years to effect permanent change in the House in Pennsylvania. Melanie Rose is the executive director of the Senate Democratic Committee and is looking forward to putting together strong campaigns for our re-elects and for new senators. And we're also pleased to have first-time caller on our show is Senator Vincent Hughes from the Senate District 7 in Philadelphia. And he's also the leader of the SDCC as an elected. So welcome all of you. And I think we did a coin toss and we're going to start with the House in a few minutes. You know, the PA legislature, let me just set the stage from our point of view. There are, the House has 90 Dems, 113 Republicans. 28 of the House members have been endorsed and supported by Represent PA. And as I mentioned, including Representative Joanna McClinton, who we endorsed in her first election. The Senate has 22 Democrats and 28 Republicans. 8 senators have been endorsed and supported by Represent PA. And what that gives you an idea of is we don't endorse every woman running every day. I mean, we only endorse Democrats, and we don't endorse every Democratic woman because we do have an evaluation committee. But our goal, and go ahead and read our tagline, our goal is to of the candidates that we've supported. I think sometimes they probably give leadership a hard time because, as we've said many times, the people we elect want to do something. They're not being elected to be somebody. They're not being elected to sit in the background. They're all being elected to voice their opinions and do something. And I'm sure Senator Hughes knows exactly what I mean by that. You know, and just to give you an idea, Pennsylvania still ranks 31st in the states in terms of percentage of women in its state legislature. 31st. The good news is we were 40th in 2016, so we've made a lot of progress in terms of the number of women we've elected, but this is not the position we want to be in. We need to flip in total 12 House seats and 6 Senate seats in order to gain the majority, in order to give the gavel to the Democrats, and in order to get the issues that we think should be discussed in this state. And I just wanted to give you just a teaser on, we're very proud of Represent and where we've come from and where we're going. Many of the people on the call have been with us for several cycles already. Last cycle, we did invest $500,000 in candidates for House and Senate. And that was 54 candidates that we supported, 27 of whom were elected. And that included several new women into the House, 3 of whom are going to be on our December 9th breakfast briefing to talk about how much fun it was to be in the House for their first year. And we also, in 2018, there were 3 women elected to the Senate who are all facing their first re-elect this time. It's Katie Muth, Maria Colette, and Lindsey Williams. And all of these women have been endorsed by us, and we continue to support them. So without a further ado, I had mentioned that they flipped a coin and we're starting on the House side. So Joanna, do you want to lead off, or is Trevor talking first?
So Trevor's talking first, and then I'm jumping in at the right time. Thank you so much, Chris. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Joanna. Trevor Sutherland, then it's yours for 20 minutes or 25 minutes.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having us on. I actually am going to have the leader start first. I just wanted to give a brief intro. I know a lot of you have heard from me and have heard from the leader recently. There's a lot we're working on for 2022, but obviously, you know, a lot of it starts with the new maps that we're going to get and some other things. And also want to let you guys know what's been happening in Harrisburg, you know, what great things the Republican majority has been up to. I'm sure they've been doing a lot of stuff to help small businesses and families. And that's why I'm going to let Leader McClinton tell you about that. All right. Leader, I'll let you talk a little bit about what we're looking at with the maps here. And then there's one more slide after this where you can talk about all the great things the Republican majority is doing.
Absolutely. So I actually just hung up on another redistricting meeting. Senator Hughes is my witness. That is what I have been doing around the clock to all of our joy, quite frankly, as we look at the non-existent leadership across the aisle in Harrisburg. These maps will provide us the opportunity, everyone across the Commonwealth, whether they know it or not, we need it. We all have a device, and devices are much more modern now. So I'm going to take you back about 5 to 10 years. Certain devices, it is a little bit difficult to find the reset button. And when you have to use it, we ladies on this call know to dig in your wallet and get a safety pin. So let me tell you what I've been doing. I have a safety pin open and I am hitting a teeny tiny reset button because we need it across the Commonwealth. As Chris said, we have 12 seats to go in the House, and there is no way, as we saw in 2020, and I won't name all the other even years, that we can prevail getting to 102 seats in the current maps. We cannot do it. Not only can we not do it in the maps that we got in 2014, we cannot do it in the last ones. We have been in the minority now for far too long, and we do not have the opportunity to advocate on behalf of our small businesses to ensure that we have a Commonwealth where economic development is not just for some, but for all, to ensure that our children, even the children I haven't had yet, can attend a fairly funded public school. The only way we can do that is to reset the maps, get the votes we need for these types of critical pieces of legislation to get people elected next year. And of course, as someone who's been a recipient of your support for many cycles, we cannot do it with entities like you. You stand alone, you're on your own 2 feet, you're not tied to any one bill or one piece of legislation or one issue. You're about the good work of electing Democrats and especially bringing representation. There's one thing I've said to myself at the beginning of this 1 year that I've been the leader now. I said, Frank Dermody, he was awesome and he never cried. But let me tell you all something. Next year, this time, when I'm looking at becoming speaker, there are going to be some good, happy tears in this eye. The left and the right one. I'm going to be sobbing, but it will be for joy. I'll tell you, they have been met with me on the floor. And many times I get that look that some of us have had in different work settings where they say, where did she come from? Problem is, you all were the ones that wanted to take Frank out. You wouldn't have to deal with me and my several years of trial practice and my Sundays of preaching and my ability to keep on talking if you weren't so aggressive with trying to beat Democrats down and up the ballot from east to west Pennsylvania. But that's okay, because the joke is on them. And as we hit this reset button, we're going to be at a different space December 2022. Back to you, Trevor.
Thank you, ma'am. And I just want to show you a couple of graphics we've got here. This is, you know, when we talk about what the Republicans have been up to, they recently took up quite a bit of time to pass some concealed carry bills and you know, make it easier to have a concealed carry gun in Pennsylvania. And also, I'm sorry, I just put this one on there for the fun. You know, January 6th, there was a thing that happened. Some of you have heard of it, I'm sure. I dare you to try to mention it on the floor of the House of Representatives. You will not be allowed to. It is the date that must not be mentioned, and they will not allow you to talk about it. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the things we've been doing. We've got our deep canvassing program. I know some of you have heard of it and are working with us on it, but I want to make sure for everybody who doesn't. The goals of our deep canvassing program is to have meaningful, impactful, issue-based conversation with voters. We're focusing on raising the minimum wage and accessibility and affordability of healthcare and prescription drugs. These conversations that we're having with voters are much longer than your average canvassing conversations. They normally take 20 to 30 minutes at the door per voter. So it's a lot more time intensive. There's a lot more work that goes into the conversation and getting feedback from people on where they stand and seeing if through the course of the conversation, their stance changes and why it changes. Gathering information. Right now we have 9 field organizers on staff at the HDCC. They've been with us for about 4 months now. We are the first legislative caucus in the country to take on a deep canvassing program like this, and we're glad to do it. Right now, we have 4 people in the collars. We have 2 in Allegheny, 1 in the west outside of Allegheny, 1 in central PA around the Harrisburg region, and 1 in NEPA in the Lehigh Valley. A little bit of what we're doing on this program are targets, independent women, lean Republican women, so on down the list there. You can see I think the low turnout voters, especially be they Democratic women, lean Democrats, or people of color, those are targets, those low turnout targets that we don't focus on enough as Democrats. So that's one group that we're really excited to talk to. Our total attempts right now are 34. So we still have quite a bit of work to do to get to that 403 we want to get to. So all of you on here, if you want to help us, if you're willing to volunteer, let us know, because we would love to have you help us either go canvassing or make some calls, because it would be a big help as we work on getting to that. And if you'd like to do that, you should feel free to reach out to me or Neil on our staff, and we'd be glad to hook you up with the canvasser that's local to you. I want to talk briefly about our campaign structure. Let you know what we look like for the HDCC. Highlighted in yellow are positions we currently have on staff, but we did make a couple more offers today, so hopefully we'll have more people coming in soon. But we have a finance director, a finance assistant. They help raise money, not just for the committee, but for our members and candidates as well. Our campaigns directors, they're going to be working daily with the candidates and the campaigns. Their job is going to be to help make sure that the doors are knocked, the dollars are raised, all the things we need those campaigns to do are happening. Neil is our field director. Right now, we've got the 9 field organizers with us, but we're going to add in 6 regional field directors and then add on to the field organizer staff some more. And then we have a digital director. We're going to add on a digital organizer, and we've got an operations director come in to help make sure that everything's hold together and that we're doing everything right on the HR side. Next slide talks just a little bit about sort of how we work with the candidates and the things that we want to do. You know, for those of you that have talked to me before, for those of you that have heard me talk about what we're doing before, I'm a very honest person. I'm a very straightforward person. Doesn't always make me the most popular person in a room, but that's the way we win campaigns. We have to be honest with people. So when we are talking with candidates, we're 100% honest with them. We need that back from them. So part of what we are going to be doing at the HDCC is, once they have staff, campaigns are going to fill out a daily report to us. And until they have staff, we're going to make it weekly, just because we don't want the candidates spending all their time on this. But we want to know what the candidate is doing. Are they knocking the doors? Are they making the contacts? Are they putting in the time to raise money? And the reason we want to know this is so that we can report it back to organizations like yours. You guys do a lot of hard work and raise a lot of money for these candidates. You need to know that everybody is holding up their end of the bargain. So that's what we do with candidates, because it's an accountability circle that we have to have. Us, the candidates, and all the partners and organizations that are working with us. What we are asking our campaigns to do on staff side, and let me tell you, this is a lot more than most of them have had in the past. We are asking them to have campaign managers, hopefully in April, a finance director or a call time manager, also in April, and then 2 to 3 field organizers, depending on the district, hopefully in May. We have 1 or 2 staffers. We're asking them to go to 4 or 5. The reason we need your help here, this scares a lot of candidates, because staff cost early takes away money that they are used to saving for later. Don't get me wrong, we're still going to do mail. We're still going to do radio and television ads. We're definitely still doing digital ads based on the district. We're still going to do all those voter contact methods that we've always done before. But we are telling our campaigns that we need to go field early and field heavy. So when you all are talking about what you're going to do, what campaigns you're going to invest in, being able to support campaigns early and telling them that you want to see this early field, that you want to see what the HDCC is preaching, that will help. Not only it'll help convince them to do it and convince them to buy into the program, but it will help them be able to afford it. Because let's be honest, especially with the condensed year, we have a lot of candidates that are going to run that haven't announced yet. We have people that are going to run that don't know they're going to run yet. They'll figure it out when they see the maps and they see what districts they have. So that means if we're asking them to have all this staff in April and May, that's a lot of early spending that they're not used to having.
Excuse me, Trevor, before you go on, I want to make sure that everybody heard what he said, because I mentioned earlier that we have, last cycle, we did $500,000. We've got about almost 200,000 in the bank now, but we need another at least 300,000 to equal what we did last cycle. But if you listen to what Trevor said, this money has to come early. And we'll be talking about that later. You'll hear about this from us. We don't have a year to raise that money. We don't have 10 months to raise that money. We've got 6 months to raise that money. And so we're working hard for you on both House and Senate. Sorry, Trevor.
No, we appreciate it. You guys were a great help last time through. We know you're still going to be a great help. I want to tell you a little bit about our vendors. This is a part of the process that some people talk about, but a lot of people don't actually know about. The HDCC did 2 days solid of interviews for mail media digital vendors. Leader McClinton was there. She loved it. There's nothing more she loves than being in a small hotel conference room with me and a bunch of people that drove up from DC for the day. But I want to tell you a little bit about what we have. We returned 6 firms from our 2020 list. Out of those 6, 4 of the 6 had women as direct contacts on the firm. 2 of the 6 had BIPOC individuals. We added 11, brought our list to 17. Of the 11 new firms, 9 of those 17 have women as direct. 7 of 11 have 9 of those 11, sorry, and 7 of those 11 have BIPOC as directs. So of our 17 firms, 13 of 17 have women as directs, 9 of 17 has BIPOC sub-directs. This is probably one of the most diverse vendor groups you're ever going to see. We're really excited that we have that diverse vendor group because it will allow our candidates to interview multiple firms, all of which have different backgrounds, different life experiences, and let them be able to choose a firm that can truly represent them in their district in a good way. Want to talk just a minute about messaging. First to say, I do not know what the message is going to be. Second to say, there's going to be at least 203 of them, and sometimes there might be more than that. A lot of times with messaging, there's the basic things that drive it. Look, we're Democrats. We want good paying jobs. We want good quality education. We want access to affordable healthcare. Those are easy things that we talk about in almost every campaign. But what drives the message is also what's going on at the moment. If we were in campaigns right now, we'd be talking about supply shortages. We'd be talking about the labor shortage. It just depends on what's driving the narrative, both the media and political at that time. Our messaging will evolve as we go through. Each candidate brings something to the table. And this is really important. If you are a white male, there are certain things that you have not lived an experience of. You can talk about it, but you haven't lived it. You have to run an honest campaign for who you are and what your life experience has been. And that's one of the things that we really want the candidates to understand. There is no perfect mold of a candidate. And then I always say this, I'm sorry, Christine's heard me say this a million times. If you're a Democratic candidate and you don't have a jobs message, you have no message at all. We have to talk about jobs. It's different in every district, but we have to talk about jobs. We have a website that we launched called PAinsurrectionist.com. I hope you all have seen it. It is targeting 14 House Republicans who either encouraged overturning the election results or failed to condemn the January 6th attack. You can see a couple of pictures we have there of our friends, Chris Quinn and Andrew Lewis. That was the best picture we could find of Chris Quinn. We worked really hard to find a good picture that put him in a good light, and that's the best one we got. But if you haven't checked out PAinsurrectionist.com, I hope you will. You can go through and look and see some of your favorite Republicans and have a little slide about them. And then our last slide here is just a nice little plug to let you know, as you prepare for the holidays and you're thinking about the perfect gift, don't forget about the HDCC web store, because you too can remind people that West Virginia has a higher minimum wage than Pennsylvania. And that concludes my slides.
Thank you very much. As usual, both you and Joanna have us both excited about where we're going and confident we can get there and sure that what our role is. Oh, it's raising money. So thank you. Melanie and Senator Hughes. Who's speaking first?
I'll do, a quick kickoff like Trevor did and then kick it over to the senator. First of all, to everyone on the call, Chris especially, thank you guys. Chris, as you know, Represent has been the first 4-figure check for a lot of our women candidates, specifically Senator Colette, Senator Booth, and Senator Lindsey Williams. I think you were all 3 of their first 4-figure checks in 2018, and I cannot believe they are up for re-election already. And you played a huge role in helping our candidates in 2020. And though we weren't successful, we wouldn't have been able to run the program that we did without, our partnership with you. And I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Well, but, to not be successful in flipping seats, perhaps, but Amanda Capoletti is a strong senator right now.
And Senator Committa.
And Carolyn Committa is also, that was not a flip, but it was both seats were male to female flip, which count for our numbers because.
Christine, it was not a flip, but it was an improvement, and I won't editorialize any more than there. How about that?
Thank you very much. How about that? I'll take it.
And Senator, I'll kick it over to you.
Great. If you're ready for me now, Mel, again, look, Christine, just thank you and everybody at Represent for the early investments, the commitment, the just taking and, looking over that trend cycle and donations and fundraising, just taking something from an idea and morphing it into a force really is a credit to you all and the commitment that you've made to be a real impact player in justice and representation and opportunity for everyone and not just for a few. So thank you very much. Mel talked about the early investments and our major races. And again, thank you for that as well. Before I go any further, I gotta throw out a thank you to a longtime friend who's been in the fight for justice, Carol Tracy, who just recently announced her resignation from the Women's Law Project. She's been a go-to person for me for decades. I think I can comfortably say that in her earshot that we've known each other for decades, and is the kind of person we've always tried to associate ourselves with and listen to with respect to good guidance on policy and politics. What Trevor and Leader McClinton have said, and can't say how proud I am of Leader McClinton, having watched her growth from a big-time lawyer for the Senate Democratic Caucus and moving to her position, really has been an inspiration and really is one of those things that keeps us involved and keeps us engaged because of wins and successes like Joanna McClinton. What Trevor and Leader McClinton have talked about are in many respects similar to what we're dealing with on the Senate side in Harrisburg. And the same fight, we can say the word insurrection, and we can mention the date January 6th on the Senate floor. We have not been prevented from raising the fundamental attack on our democracy and our institution. We've not been prevented from doing that. We can say that, but the issues in many respects are the same. The policy issues are the same. The need to invest on the policy side, because good policy is good politics all the time, is very, very consistent. The highlight in our side of the building is the fact that there still is in existence subpoenas for every piece of personal information for every registered voter in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I must, it got a little flurry and attention for a while, but the public conversation has died down a little bit. But folks need to be reminded that the Senate Republican Caucus has issued subpoenas for every one of the 9 million registered voters in Pennsylvania, your driver's license number, your social security number, your email address, your cell phone information, your cell phone number, your voter history, which is already there to be had, your home addresses, I think I said, and every aspect of personal data. Now, if they were hackers looking to create false bank accounts and things like that, you just needing access to your personal information, this data that they have subpoenaed would be fundamental to achieve that kind of operation. Those subpoenas are still out there. It is being challenged in Commonwealth Court. Congratulations, Lori Dumas. It's been challenged in Commonwealth Court, all right? And that win, that ability to stop that is not assured, all right? They've gone as far as hiring a firm, I believe, prepared to spend about $250,000 to pay a firm to house that information. There was no competitive bid process for the selection of that firm. Democrats, as you would expect, were not involved in the selection process. So we have gone to court to prevent them from that. But that is, in its fundamental sense, beyond the guy by the name of Doug Mastriano. And I don't need to editorialize on that. Everybody on this Zoom conversation knows exactly who is. That is fundamentally what we're dealing with here. Again, as being reminded that Pennsylvania is the #1 state in the nation where folks have been arrested from participation in the insurrection. So that's the policy reality. Have to mention the fact that both the Senate Republican Caucus and the House Republican Caucus made the budgetary decision to not spend $7 billion, not 7 million, $7 billion of American Rescue Plan funds, to not spend that and to essentially leave those dollars unspent, just kind of sitting around in a rainy day fund or just sitting in an account in Harrisburg. That is a crime, a policy crime to the people of Pennsylvania, because those dollars could have been utilized and were supposed to be utilized to make significant investments in the people of Pennsylvania and across the nation to transform their lives and get them out of the pandemic. So from a policy perspective, you heard what the House is dealing with. We just added to that mix from what it is we're confronted with in the Senate. With respect to redistricting and map drawing, and all the lawyers remind me that I must be very careful with how I utilize my language, no matter what conversation I'm in, Ms. Christine, okay? That I must be very careful about how I utilize my language. All we're looking for is fair maps so we can have fair elections. We're looking to repair the gerrymandered maps from 10 years ago. And we all, I think, know where those locations are. And if we can fix the gerrymandering of 10 years ago, if we can have fair maps that we deserve, the people of Pennsylvania deserve, we can be very successful in 2022. We're at 21 Democratic senators right now. We need 4 to tie, and with the lieutenant governor, we then take the majority. If we win 5, we go from 21 to 26, and then we have a functioning majority. And so that's the political landscape that we're in with respect to map drawing. I would ask everybody, before I turn it over to Mel to kind of walk through our political operation, but ask everybody with respect to the drawing of maps, that we be very conscious of the time frame that the Republicans would like to achieve. The Republicans would like to achieve a process that forces the maps to be drawn in 2024 for elections in 2024 and not in 2022. They prefer to run their races on the current maps and not run their races on on fairer maps that we think we can achieve in 2022. That's their objective. We've seen this act before. They've done this before. So be very careful about the timing, process issues, and things of that nature. What the Republicans want to do is to string this thing out as long as possible, maybe force a situation where we may have to change the election date next year, maybe push it back. And we need to be very thoughtful about that process issue. So I saw Bill Ewing and a bunch of other folks on the call that on the Zoom who know how to handle these legal matters. And of course, we're dealing with lawyers and other folks as well. We're very concerned about that whole part of the equation. So that's the foundation from a policy standpoint. It's the foundation from a redistricting, reapportionment standpoint. I'm going to turn it over to Mel right now to kind of walk through our structure and what our situation is looking like going forward. Thanks,
Thank you,
Mel.
Senator. Awesome. So we've taken a different tactic. We've been going after the 6 vulnerable seats that we are going after for 2022, or potential targets, I should say, in a digital program.
Tommy Tomlinson wants to steal your private data, your social security number, your date of birth, and more, so he can keep pushing Trump's big lie that he won Pennsylvania. Psst, he didn't. Tell Tommy Tomlinson, cut the crap. Quit playing games with our private data.
As the last line of this ad said, it's time to cut the crap, which ultimately is where we fall when it comes to talking to a lot of these Republicans. Senator Corman, Senator Ment, who since announced his retirement since we ran this digital program, Senator Tomlinson, Senator Brown, Senator Udachak, who is an independent, likely running as a Republican next year, and Senator Scavello. So our targets are largely concentrated in NEPA, SEPA, Bucks County, and the Lehigh Valley. And they are all in a good targeting range. I did not put this in the slide deck, but really fast statistics. Senator Tomlinson only won by 74 votes in 2018. Senator Brown won by less than 200 votes in 2018.
By the way, we were big supporters of Tina Davis in the last
So
cycle.
was I.
Who only lost by 74 votes
Yes.
in after major recounts and stopping the counts and all of that. So yeah, just think of what the difference would have been if Tina had been in the Senate.
Would have made a big difference. And Senator Ment, who again has now announced his retirement, only won by about 1,500 votes, and both Scavello and Udachak was a Democrat in 2018, and Scavello won by about 3,000 votes. And with redistricting, the, fair districts drawn and the right candidates and programming run, we have no doubt that we can get there. So we have been running these targeted ads against them. And there's another slide, Tilly, which just shows more of the ads with their faces on them, just in case anyone wanted to see the, like Trevor looked for good pictures of Chris Quinn. We also looked for really good pictures of the people we were talking about. So,
and
you
with no offense to supporters like Bill Ewing, they're all white guys. And our goal is a reflective democracy in Pennsylvania where our legislators look like all of us, and we don't all look like this.
Correct. And that is one of our goals. So like I said, we targeted our vulnerable GOP and potential targeted seats for 2022. Whether we run on old lines, which I hope does not happen, or new lines. And like the numbers I just ran through, they are in our reaching distance, and I have no doubt we can get there with partnerships and help like your organization. We also use this digital program to highlight one of the most egregious votes taken in the 2021 session year, which, like Senator Hughes said, was this vote to subpoena all of your private personal information. And we had a 3-week time span where it was hot, but much like things in Harrisburg, as I'm sure Leader McClinton and Senator Hughes can attest to, they do a lot of things that eat up the news cycle very, very frequently. And then, of course, we then took the back end data to kind of gather and collect the engagement data to see what constituency groups this kind of, this was feeding into, who was interacting with it, how they are interacting with it. We had a couple instances I was able to hopefully recruit, depending on lines, candidates who said they were interested in potentially running against these people. And upon further, research and talking to them, they might actually be really great fits. So we got a lot out of these digital programs, and we're going to continue to run ads against them, and continue to go heavily against them, and hopefully either push some of these more, quote unquote, moderate Republicans into retirement, or just show them what's coming for them next year. So SDCC staff structure, I am on board as the executive director, and Taylor is somewhere on this call, is our deputy executive director and member services director. We are in the middle of the interview process for a field director to come on board ahead of petitions, as well as a digital director to start early next year as well. And then as we get closer, we'll be hiring regional campaign directors for NEPA, SEPA, and Bucks County, as well as Allegheny and the Lehigh Valley. We feel really strongly about keeping Bucks separate from the average SEPA races we're getting from Chester, Delco, and Montco. I think Bucks County is its own beast, and Senator Sanicero's race, as well as that Mensch seat, that Tomlinson seat, and a piece of Senator Colette's district being in Bucks County are too important for us to not have somebody just watching Bucks County as their sole focus. And then an additional special projects manager to just help oversee everything. Awesome. So campaign structure. Much like the HDCC, we hold all of our incumbents and candidates to the same exact standards, the same reporting standards, the same structure, and the same guidelines, because the candidates we're talking to, we hope to be our members, so we treat them exactly the same. We ask for 100% transparency and honesty. Staff, the candidate, and the members we work with. This helps us communicate with, our stakeholder groups, our organizations, as well as, just make sure that we know everything that's going on. We can't fix problems if we don't know what they are. And full transparency really helps us stay ahead of everything. We also require a nightly checkout report, which includes field and finance metrics, which our finance and field director on the SDCC level will set with their campaign team. And we also require weekly check-ins with full staff consulting teams, as well as the SDCC full staff weekly, to make sure we're all on the same page, and just can do a gut check and see what we have to look forward to and what happened in the past week as well. Awesome. So just to continue that, each campaign we require to be staffed with a campaign manager, a finance director, a field director, and a field organizer, like Trevor said, if funds allowed. Staff is expensive, and good talent is expensive. And, we want to treat and train and have good, positive work environments on all of our campaigns. And that means, making sure that we have good staff and good environments and can pay them what they deserve. We will be bringing on campaign managers early, probably either a little past the petition period or nearly around it, depending on the campaign. I saw someone in the chat box ask about primaries. Obviously, if there are rumors of primaries, we're going to fully staff them. It's not something that the SDCC is strangers to, and we will make sure they are fully staffed up and ready to go through the primary as well. And we just see it as an extra 6 months to campaign, or 5 or 6 months to campaign. So we will make sure they're on board. But for those who are not bringing on full-time staff, in the meantime, they will be working, with our finance field and the regional directors as well. We also firmly believe that campaigns need to be localized in district. There is no formula, there is no framework that every campaign needs to follow. It is going to be completely different. The only thing we require that is the same and standardized across the board is, fair pay and the people they hire, the campaign manager, the finance director, the field director. Everything else will be custom tailored to their campaign to make it work. And like I said, in order to make this a success, we have to ensure we have both the talent and the funding. So in addition to Trevor's ask for early funding, I will throw it out there that if you have resumes and talent that you want to bring into Pennsylvania or want to encourage to work in Pennsylvania, contact info, and we would love to be put in touch. Vendor selection. Trevor and Leader, not to brag, but we did our vendor selection over Zoom, and Senator Hughes got to sit through about 17 hours of Zoom recordings of interviews he couldn't make it to, but we did do those over Zoom. We unrolled a very detailed and deliberate vendor selection process to bring diversity into our program as well, and I'm very excited about the vendors we were able to select. A majority of our incumbents from 2018 are working with their same firms from the 2018 cycle. So a lot of these new vendors we're bringing in will be working with our new candidates or will be slated into our incumbent teams where they have a hole to fill. And obviously our vendor team is a lot smaller because we have, we have 25 members up for re-election this year instead of 203. So our vendor team gets to be a little bit smaller. We brought on 2 new TV firms, 2 new digital firms, and 1 new mail firm, all of whom are majority BIPOC or women owned, which you're very, very excited about. And not all of them are DC based, which is new. We work with a lot of DC based firms, and we are excited to be bringing in some firms that are based in other parts of the country as well. Messaging, again, I hate to reiterate what the House is saying, but it's the truth. We firmly believe in localizing our campaigns, and whatever I tell you today we would be campaigning on is going to be different tomorrow and the day after that and a week after that and in January and February. So we are going to be monitoring everything, heavy field investment to see what people are hearing on the doors and make sure what people are hearing on the doors lines up with what we're, hearing in digital engagement, lines up with what we're hearing. Here's a dirty, the dirty word of polling, what we're hearing in polling, to make sure that, we are all on the same page and make sure that we're talking about the things that need to be talked about. Like I said, there's no candidate handbook. We will take things district by district to figure out what is best for them, the candidate, and the district they are running in. And, we're working with our partners in other states to understand what worked for them in 2021 this year. And, frankly, what didn't work when you look at states like New Jersey and Virginia, what worked for them, what didn't, and what can we learn from them, and how can we adjust their programs and planning to fit Pennsylvania a little bit better. Anyway, we're also launching a new website, PAHDCC.com. We are rebranding. It's very excited. There's 3 tabs launched on PAHDCC. If you click it, it is updated, which is very exciting. And there will be more to come in January of 2022. And I think that is the last slide.
Thank
And
you.
always a good place to make a donation.
Yeah, you know, you can donate. Your second choice for donation should be the 2 campaign committees. First choice, of course, is to represent PA, because we go through and evaluate these candidates and make sure they're consistent with our values. And speaking of that, how are we doing on recruiting women on both the House and the Senate side to make sure that they're reflective of our state? You know, we don't want to be 31st in the country anymore. We want to come up. You know, when Trevor was in Virginia, of course, it didn't last an extra cycle, but was able to get a woman majority leader and a woman speaker in their House of Delegates, I think it's called. So we're up to, how are we doing on recruiting women and people of color?
Great question. Recruitment has obviously been slow and difficult due to a lack of lines and knowledge of where people are going to land. That being said, the SDCC is really proud of the class and the slate we recruited in 2020. I think we had 11 women of the 15 races we were running candidates in were women, and we are very, very, very proud of that. And we intend to match that or exceed it next cycle.
That's great.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead, Trevor. Go ahead.
No, Senator, please.
I would just say, the process of getting to where we want to get to, we always need to be mindful of making sure that we protect our gains, and then build off of those gains to get to the promised land of the majority. Protecting our gains, Christine and everybody understands on the Senate side. That's Lindsay. We want to stop calling her landslide Lindsay, and have a different term for her. Winner Williams or whatever. Okay, but Katie and Maria and Lindsay, and those are core, those are fundamental, but most importantly, they are great examples and great sellers of what can be accomplished as a woman going forward in this process. So we figure out the lines, and then we solidify what the new crop of candidates will be, but we can never forget, with this class, this is the first time around for lots of folks in this class, all right? And we got to make sure that they're protected in this process.
So I'll tell you a little story about Maria Colette. When she decided to run 4 years ago, she wasn't greeted with a lot of enthusiasm by the prior administration of the SDCC, because there was an incumbent in office, and there's a tendency that, hey, it's an incumbent Republican, we're not going to do anything. So as Melanie said earlier, we gave Maria her first 4-figure check. It was $8,000 at the beginning of 2016. With that money, Maria went and paid for 2.5 mailings to her district, and really was able to solidify her position with the caucus and then further it in terms of winning. And we've been so grateful to have a nurse in the Senate during this period of time when we're dealing with such health issues. And I think that's a perfect example of what Represent wants to do. We want to have you have strong candidates, and we're willing to be early money. We'll never be anybody's most money, but we're going to help them be viable candidates. So please help them find us and take it to Trevor. How you doing?
I'm good. Look, on candidate recruitment, here's the thing. We've got some good people. Some of them I know some of you guys have already talked to that are looking to run. Honestly, we're not doing a lot of recruiting right now, and that's for a couple of reasons. Until we have the maps, there's a couple things that's going to happen. People are going to show up. Once the maps are published, people are going to want to run in these districts. oftentimes good candidates that are waiting to see where they end up. So what we don't want to do is, one, we don't want to recruit somebody to run, and then under the new maps, they're in one of our incumbents districts and they're gun-ho and gonna run. So we don't want to do that. We also, quite frankly, you know, we want candidates in all 203 districts. It's a very high level to reach, but that's what we want. We want to make sure that we're recruiting under the right maps, and that's not what we have right now. So our effort right now has been more based on building up our program and our model inside the HDCC. And when we get the maps, right now we have 6 members of the HQ staff. We have 9 field organizers, and I just sent out 3 offer letters for more HQ staff this morning. So we will be ready to go recruit candidates as soon as those maps are finalized. And the only other thing I want to say, Christine, about what you were saying earlier is when I interviewed for this job, I told the leader that my goal was to win the majority and then at least stay for 1 cycle to hold it. So don't worry, unlike Virginia, I'll be here.
Senator Hughes talked a little bit about incumbents, and I'd like both sides, both chambers again, to talk about incumbents. You know, we've already sent out our incumbent questionnaire to all of the incumbents that we've supported in the past and asked them, it's an abbreviated questionnaire, just saying, hey, remember us? Have your positions changed? Do you want money early? And we're hoping to, we're going to be scheduling a call with our endorsement committee, which is anybody at the $1,200 a year level or above. And let's talk about incumbents. And we hope to give roughly $50,000 in incumbent money in December. And so for example, I had a conversation with Katie Muth this week, and I know she'll be looking for that. And so we'll be looking to support our incumbents as early as we can. Our next cycle, though, in terms of giving money, comes after petitions are done, and petitions come clearly after the districts are drawn and people can go out and do that. So 2 questions. First of all, do we really think the maps are going to be updated this year? And second, are there incumbents that we should be worried about? And should we be working with Melanie and Trevor to talk about the incumbents who might be in danger?
So Leader McClinton has the better understanding of the map timing because obviously she's on the the reapportionment commission, so she's intimately involved with the timing of it. So I'll turn it over to there. I think Melanie can work with you directly, Christine, and the appropriate folks that represent with respect to identifying if there are districts that incumbents represent that are relatively similar to where we think they are, what the issues may be, and can go through that. As I said, for many folks, this is the first time around. This is first time at the reelect, right? So first time for Katie, first time for Maria, first time for Lindsay. So they've got to, we need to do extra special attention there. So, but I don't know if Leader McClinton wants to speak about the timing of the maps.
So I think the senator covered, we already know who's most vulnerable based off of just current statistics of where people are and how, because of course, in the House, we already ran twice since our blue wave. We already know how people did, where they had challenges and struggles. And we anticipate, while there be obviously much project and pinpoint it with specificity. So I can't comment with specificity on either the timing, the actual timing. Of course, our goal and objective is that, we do everything appropriately so that in 2022, we're running in the new maps. And that is something that the chair shares publicly quite often as well. So hopefully all of our good intentions and goodwill to get that taken care of in a timely fashion will in fact result in an opportunity to compete in them as soon as possible, which would be, you know, the top of 2022. But we know folks who've had challenges, and some of them just on the nature of the demographics of their communities where they've resided for some time will continue to have challenges. I'm finally wrapping up a book I read for about a month, pick up, put down, because I have so much free time, called The Forgotten, about, you know, Luzerne County and how, you know, for the first time ever, it turned red in 2016. And reading through the interviews of people who were lifelong Democrats who describe in detail, you know, why they made a change is just, you know, exposing so much for me in terms of how we do that localized messaging that Melanie was talking about a little bit earlier.
That's great. One of the questions that was asked in the chat had to do with how much coordination is going on between the House and the Senate campaign committees. You're both doing canvassing, you're hiring people, you're finding intelligence. Are you talking to each other?
I think Trevor wants to talk to me less.
Yeah. I mean, we actually had
less, Melanie? Less?
No, we had a great conference call a couple nights ago. Senator Hughes was on it. The leader was on it. It was great. We talk all the time. I have Melanie is in my phone as PA Senate woman. So I know it's her. I'm like, yep, that's her. I got it. So we talk all the time, and we'll continue to talk all the time.
Let me just say this, and just to build upon that. And Trevor is right. We had an incredibly impactful 90-minute Zoom meeting. I think it was Monday evening. I'm kind of losing track of days. But that's not the first, nor will it be the last. There's a lot of regular dialogue. We're going through an interesting period right now, which I'll spare everybody the details with. An interesting period right now. And has upped the dialogue much more frequently than has been the case. But the reality is the case was very frequent beforehand. But I also know this. I have the pleasure and work closely with DLCC staff and leadership and make sure that number one, Pennsylvania is a priority, and number two, that there's no air between the HDCC and the SDCC from that vantage point from the DLCC level. That is my charge. That is my responsibility. Working in that vantage point, the DLCC created a voting rights council, and we work with DLCC leadership to bring in Leader McClinton to be a part of that operation as well. She's just, you know, she's the big hit. Okay, I'm just an old tune. She's the big hit these days. All right, and that makes me very proud that she is, because it's very deserving, given her style, her commitment, and what she brings to the table. So we're very close. We've learned, I don't want to bore you with details, Christine, or the folks in the chat, but we've learned from these issues, and we learn every year, every cycle from these issues in the past about coordinated campaigns, right? You know, and how that can be a failure, and never quite really meets the mark. So we're talking about how we can coordinate together, HDCC, SDCC. God bless the rest of the world, okay? And we'll bring them along for the party, all right? But, you know, ask Josh Shapiro as our gubernatorial candidate, beyond what his number one wish is for his success, his number two wish is control of the legislature, so we can get the big things policy and the big things agenda that he's trying to get done, that we all want to get done as well. So
yeah, I'd like to see that. You know, I have strong opinions on that subject. I don't think Governor Wolf was as effective as we would have liked, and I'm hoping things will be different with going into the future. Leader McClinton, would you like to comment on that? Do you agree that you're coordinating well?
Yes, we talk all the time. It's true. It's not a saying. No matter where any of us are, we are definitely planning things out because everybody's impacted. I'm impacted by the Senate pickups positively. The Senate will be impacted by House pickups positively. And we're talking about, opportunities to deliver and, one chamber being able to get much closer or even flip and the other still on this call.
And it's reflected, Christine, in some policy things that we've been able to do as well. Good politics, good policy is good politics. Good politics is good policy. Leader McClinton and I have been effectively working on some programs to drive several millions of dollars out in various good policy is always good politics.
And I think that's a great place for us to close this. One of the ways that Represent has been raising money is by talking to people throughout the Commonwealth about why they should care about the state legislature. And as you know, that's always part of the big discussion that any candidates who are going door to door face. Why should they care about the state legislature? And our thing has been to have any number of, I can't remember how many we've done, of issue-based breakfast briefings where we talk about the environment, we talk about the effect of fracking, we talk about the discrepancy in education. Thank goodness there's a court case right now about how we are underfunding so many of our schools. But this is something that's in the control of the state legislature. And on any major issue you talk about, minimum wage, it's all controlled by a legislature who are not working for Pennsylvania for change. And so we talk about those things with the idea that that's why we need to flip the legislature. And you both need to be, Leader McClinton and Senator Hughes, you need to be in the majority and just think of what you can get done then for all of us.
Well, I live for the moment where I can say Speaker McClinton.
I know it. No.
For that moment. And Joanna knows exactly what I'm talking about. I live for that moment. All right. So,
and we'll continue to take credit for Joanna because after all, we were an early endorser of hers in her primary in 2015. Not that I haven't said that already on this call, but we know that nothing counts unless, she's got the gavel in her hand. And watch out, Pennsylvania. Many pieces need to come together. We've been happy to talk to the HDCC and SDC today. We are a PAC. We are not door-to-door people, although some people are in their own way. We're not working on any other efforts. We are a PAC that gives money directly to candidates. The two caucuses require their candidates to raise money. In order to get, the caucuses have additional money that they put in if a candidate is raising money. So our purpose as a PAC for progressive women is twofold. One is so that we can go to the leaders of the HDCC and SDCC when they're recruiting candidates. And if they're saying, well, I like this one and I like this one, we're not sure who could win in this district. They go, but I know that the first check from Represent would be a good one. Therefore, we're going to lean towards the female candidate. So that's one of our purposes. And another purpose is, like my Maria Colette story, is to give them viability, to let them know that if they get the money out there, they can win. So we don't have to hear this, this is a really winnable district, so we better put in universal white guy to run in this district. We can put in a strong woman because we know she's going to get support. We don't do voter registration, but so many other people do. There was a comment in the chat, by the way, about the new Pennsylvania project on whose board Leader McClinton sits. And I think they're going to be talking to you in January. One of our last breakfast briefings, we had Stand Up PA and other groups talking about voter registration and the work that they're doing on that side of the house. That's not us. We've also had Turn PA Blue on this, and we're big supporters of Turn PA Blue. They have a PAC, but their biggest effort is in turnout and calling people and those things. That's not us. but the work of all these groups has to come together in order to make a difference, to put the gavel in Leader McClinton's hand. We invest in strong women. We know we need to do it early. We want to get money out early. We're going to drive some money this year so that our incumbents have some money in the bank at their December 31st filing. So if somebody else is saying, well, you know, that's kind of a weak incumbent, maybe I should run against Jess Benham in Allegheny County, for example, she'll have money in the bank on December 31st to drive out any possible somebody running against them in a primary. Check out our website. We try and keep it current. We're going to have a video of this event out so you can share it with your friends and volunteer with us. And our next breakfast briefing is on Thursday, December 9th, where we're having 3 of our freshman House members, Nancy Gens, Regina Young, and Jess Benham from 3 different parts of Pennsylvania to talk about their experiences, how much fun it is to be in the minority in Harrisburg, how hard they've had to work, the trouble they have of just making themselves get on the train or drive to Harrisburg, knowing that they're going to beat up, but with the idea that when they get reelected, they'll be in control. So thank you to our special guests. We love you. We support you. We're raising money in your effort. And thank you to everybody else who's a Represent contributor. Donate, donate, donate. We'll be in touch. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.